It started with a message that Drake reportedly woke up to at almost 4:30 in the morning. At first, it looked like just another notification. But within minutes, phones across the music industry started lighting up at the same time. Producers, engineers, and fan pages were all sharing the same shocking claim: Drake's entire unreleased album had just appeared online. Not one song. Not a demo snippet. The whole project. Within minutes, private music forums and hidden Telegram groups were flooded with files labeled with titles fans had never seen before. Some people claimed there were 15 tracks, others said more than 20 songs had been dumped all at once. And the craziest part? Several of the files allegedly contained studio tags and reference notes that made them look like they were pulled directly from Drake's own recording sessions. Fans were shocked. Emotions ran high across hip-hop Twitter as people rushed to confirm whether the leak was real. Some listeners swore the vocals sounded unfinished. Others claimed the songs sounded completely polished, like they were meant for an official album release later this year. But the biggest twist came when a well-known music engineer reportedly posted a now-deleted message saying something even more disturbing. According to that post, this might not have been a simple leak. It might have been a full hack. Within hours, rumors began spreading that someone had gained access to Drake's private studio files, pulling entire sessions straight from cloud storage and dumping them online. Screenshots began circulating showing folders with timestamps, alternate versions of songs, and even voice memos where Drake could allegedly be heard talking to producers between takes. And if those files were real, it meant someone had gotten closer to Drake's unreleased music than anyone ever should have. But here's where the situation gets even more dramatic. Because while fans were busy downloading the leaked songs and debating whether they were real, people close to Drake allegedly started saying the artist himself was furious, frustrated, and possibly even devastated by what had just happened. And according to several insiders watching the chaos unfold online, the reason Drake reacted so strongly might not just be about the music being stolen. It might be about one specific track on that album that nobody was ever supposed to hear. Within an hour of the first leak links appearing online, the entire hip-hop internet was in chaos. Private forums that usually moved quietly suddenly had thousands of new users flooding in, all trying to grab the files before they disappeared. Screenshots of folder names started circulating across Twitter, Reddit, and Discord servers. Some of the titles looked unfinished, others looked like potential singles, and a few had mysterious labels like Final 2 and Do Not Send. That last detail alone had fans losing their minds, because it suggested these songs were never meant to leave Drake's inner circle. People who claimed to have downloaded the files began posting quick reactions. One fan wrote, "This sounds like a full album. No way, this is just demos." Another person said, "Bro, there's at least 18 songs here." The comment sections exploded as listeners tried to compare notes, arguing over which tracks sounded real and which might be fake edits created by hackers. But the more people listened, the more convinced many became that the vocals and production sounded authentic. Meanwhile, inside the industry, the mood reportedly turned tense. According to several entertainment pages following the situation, producers who had worked with Drake started texting each other trying to figure out what exactly had been leaked. One unnamed engineer allegedly wrote in a private group chat, "If those are the real files, somebody got into something they weren't supposed to." That message quickly spread across blogs and gossip pages, making the situation look even more serious. Fans were shocked, and emotions ran high as speculation grew about how such a massive leak could happen. Some people blamed hackers targeting cloud storage accounts. Others believed someone close to the studio sessions might have secretly sold the music. In the modern music industry, leaks have happened before, but rarely on this scale, especially to an artist as massive as Drake. Then another twist started circulating online. Several fans noticed that some of the leaked songs contained short voice clips at the beginning, where Drake could allegedly be heard speaking casually with producers. In one of the clips that quickly went viral, a voice believed by listeners to be Drake reportedly said, "Nah, keep that version locked. Nobody hear that yet." That small moment sent the internet into another frenzy. Because if the leak really included raw studio sessions and conversations, it meant whoever accessed the files didn't just grab finished tracks. They might have downloaded entire recording folders straight from a private server. Hip-hop pages began reporting that people close to Drake were scrambling to figure out what happened. Some insiders claimed the artist's team immediately started contacting platforms trying to remove the files. But the problem with leaks is that once the music hits the internet, it spreads faster than anyone can control. Links were being reposted constantly, and every time one folder got deleted, another copy popped up somewhere else. In group chats and fan communities, listeners began debating the sound of the leaked material. Some said the songs felt darker and more aggressive than Drake's recent releases. Others claimed they heard collaborations with artists that had never been announced before. One user even insisted they recognized a verse from another major rapper, though no one could confirm it yet. As the chaos grew, rumors about Drake's reaction started spreading too. A popular music blogger claimed someone from Drake's camp told them the artist was not taking this lightly at all. According to that blogger, Drake had allegedly spent months carefully planning the rollout for this project, recording multiple versions of songs, experimenting with different sounds, and even testing potential track orders with his team. If the leaked files were truly part of that album process, it meant years of work might now be floating around online without any control. And that's where the situation reportedly started becoming emotional behind the scenes. Another entertainment account posted that someone close to the situation claimed Drake was extremely upset when he realized the scale of the leak. Not just because the music was out there, but because some of the songs were apparently unfinished and not meant for public ears yet. Fans watching the drama unfold online began imagining how frustrating that moment must have been. For artists, albums are carefully built experiences. Tracks get rewritten, verses get replaced, and entire songs sometimes get scrapped before release. When unfinished versions leak, they can change how the public perceives the final project. But just as people thought the story couldn't get more intense, a new rumor began spreading that made the situation feel even bigger. According to a few online insiders, the hackers who leaked the album might not be done yet. As the internet kept exploding with links to the leaked songs, another rumor suddenly began spreading through music forums that made the situation feel even more dangerous. According to several users claiming to have direct contact with the hackers, the group responsible for the leak wasn't just dumping the album for attention. They allegedly had access to far more files than what had already appeared online. That single claim sent shockwaves through fan communities. People started asking the same question everywhere. If the hackers really had Drake's full recording folders, what else might be inside those files? Within hours, screenshots began circulating that supposedly showed additional folders labeled with different project names, alternate mixes, and even unreleased collaborations. Some users claimed they saw references to songs featuring artists that had never been publicly connected to Drake before. Others insisted there were voice notes where Drake was discussing lyrics and ideas during the recording process. Again, none of those claims were confirmed, but the speculation alone made the story explode even further. Fans were shocked. Emotions ran high across social media as people argued about whether listening to the leaked music was wrong or whether the situation was simply out of fans' control now that the files were circulating everywhere. Some listeners said they refused to play the songs out of respect for the artist. Others admitted curiosity got the best of them, and they had already downloaded everything they could find. Meanwhile, people close to the industry reportedly began reacting privately to the chaos. One producer, who had worked with multiple major artists, posted a cryptic tweet that quickly went viral. He wrote, "Artists spend years building albums. One hacker with a laptop can destroy that in 5 minutes. That message was retweeted thousands of times and became one of the most talked about reactions to the situation. But the most dramatic twist came later that afternoon, when another message allegedly appeared in one of the same forums where the leaked files had first surfaced. A user claiming to represent the hackers reportedly posted a short statement that made fans freeze. According to screenshots circulating online, the message said something like, "This is only the first folder." That single line immediately caused panic across hip-hop blogs. If the message was real, it suggested that the initial leak might have been only a small piece of a much larger collection of stolen material. Some fans began worrying that even more songs could appear in the coming days. Others feared that the hackers might release sensitive conversations or private studio recordings that were never meant for public ears. The idea of that possibility made the story feel far more personal than a typical music leak. Because in modern recording sessions, microphones sometimes capture everything happening in the room. Artists joke with producers, argue over lyrics, vent about personal issues, and talk openly about other musicians in ways they might never expect the public to hear. If hackers truly had access to raw studio sessions, those moments could become just as explosive as the music itself. Around the same time, another rumor started circulating that Drake's team was urgently contacting digital platforms trying to remove the files as quickly as possible. Some blogs claimed lawyers were already involved, while others reported that certain streaming and hosting sites had begun taking down links. But the internet moves faster than any legal response. Every time a file disappeared, fans said another mirror link appeared somewhere else. Private Telegram groups reportedly had hundreds of members sharing download folders back and forth. Screenshots of track lists were spreading across TikTok and Instagram faster than Drake's team could react. In the middle of all this chaos, a small clip suddenly appeared online that made the story even more emotional. The clip allegedly came from a voice memo included in the leaked files. In the recording, a voice believed by fans to be Drake could reportedly be heard talking quietly with a producer about one of the songs. The voice said something along the lines of, "That one's personal, we gotta make sure that never leaks." When fans heard that line, the entire conversation shifted again. Because suddenly people started wondering if one of the leaked songs might contain something far more sensitive than anyone expected. And according to a few listeners who claimed they had already heard every track in the folder, there was one particular song on the leaked album that sounded different from the rest, almost like Drake was addressing something deeply personal that he had never spoken about publicly before. As more fans began digging through the leaked folder, attention slowly shifted toward one particular track that listeners kept mentioning in forums and group chats. At first, it didn't stand out by title. In fact, the file name looked almost ordinary compared to the others. But according to people who claimed they had listened to the entire leak, the tone of this song felt completely different from the rest of the album. While some of the other leaked tracks sounded like the usual mix of confident bars, melodies, and polished hooks that Drake fans expect, this song allegedly carried a much heavier emotional energy. Listeners described the instrumental as slower and darker, built around a soft piano loop and minimal drums. Instead of sounding like a club record or a radio hit, the track reportedly felt more like a personal confession. Fans who heard the song started posting about it almost immediately. One user wrote, "This doesn't sound like a normal Drake track. He's really talking on this one." Another listener said, "If this was supposed to stay private, I understand why." Those reactions spread across hip-hop Twitter quickly, and suddenly the leak story wasn't just about stolen music anymore. It became about what Drake might have been saying in that track. According to people describing the lyrics online, the song allegedly included lines about pressure, trust, and the difficulty of knowing who to rely on when you're one of the biggest artists in the world. The verses reportedly sounded reflective, almost like Drake was speaking directly to someone who had betrayed his confidence. Again, None of those descriptions were confirmed by Drake or his team, but the speculation alone made fans even more curious. Because hip-hop history is full of moments where leaked songs reveal emotions or opinions that artists never intended to release publicly. When private recordings escape into the wild, they sometimes show a side of artists that polished albums don't. That possibility made the situation feel more personal. Fans were shocked, and emotions ran high as people debated whether the song should even be shared further. Some listeners argued that spreading a track that sounded so personal crossed a line. Others said the responsibility fell on whoever hacked the files, not the fans who simply stumbled across them online. Meanwhile, the internet kept analyzing every second of the alleged leak. One fan page even posted a breakdown claiming the song might have been recorded recently because the lyrics seemed to reference events from the past year. Another account insisted the track included a line that hinted Drake had been dealing with trust issues inside his own circle. That theory sparked an entirely new wave of speculation. People started asking whether the leak could have come from someone close to the studio sessions rather than a random hacker. In the modern music industry, leaks sometimes come from unexpected places: assistants, engineers, or even collaborators who once had access to files. Of course, there was no proof of that happening here, but the possibility alone fueled the drama. Then another surprising detail began circulating online. Several fans noticed that the leaked folder didn't just contain the finished version of that emotional track. According to screenshots shared on forums, there were also earlier versions of the same song labeled V1 and ALT Hook. That discovery suggested the song had gone through multiple stages during the recording process. For artists, that's normal. Songs often evolve over time as lyrics get rewritten and melodies change. But for fans listening to leaked material, hearing multiple versions of the same emotional record made the situation feel even more revealing. One user posted, "You can literally hear him figuring out what he wants to say." As that discussion grew louder, another rumor started spreading that made the story even more intense. According to a few accounts claiming to have inside information, Drake might not have been aware that this particular track had leaked until hours after the first songs appeared online. If that rumor was true, it meant the moment he discovered that personal recording was circulating publicly could have been especially difficult. And that's when blogs began reporting something else. Several entertainment pages claimed Drake had allegedly been in the middle of a private studio session when someone finally showed him the full extent of the leak online. If those reports were accurate, that moment might have been when the artist realized the situation was far bigger than just a few unfinished songs escaping onto the internet. By the time the news finally reached Drake directly, the internet had already spent hours tearing the leak apart piece by piece. According to multiple entertainment pages following the situation, the artist was reportedly inside a late-night studio session when someone from his team showed him what was happening online. At first, the story goes, he didn't even realize how serious the situation had become. One insider claimed Drake thought a single demo might have leaked, something that happens to artists from time to time. But when the phone was handed to him, and he allegedly saw dozens of song files spreading across forums, the mood inside the studio changed immediately. Fans later said that moment must have felt surreal. Imagine spending months, or even years, building an album, carefully recording different versions of songs, experimenting with ideas, deciding which tracks deserve to make the final cut. Then suddenly seeing unfinished pieces of that work floating around the internet where millions of people can hear them out of context. According to a few blog posts that quickly went viral, Drake reportedly sat quietly for a moment while scrolling through screenshots of the leak. The room around him supposedly went silent, as producers and engineers tried to understand what exactly had been exposed. Emotions ran high. One person in the room allegedly said something like, "We gotta shut this down fast." Another reportedly suggested contacting digital platforms immediately to try removing the files before they spread further. But everyone then knew the harsh reality of the internet. Once something leaks online, stopping it completely becomes almost impossible. Meanwhile, outside the studio, fans continued reacting to the music itself. Some listeners praised the sound of the leaked songs, saying the material felt raw and emotional compared to Drake's recent releases. Others criticized the hackers, arguing that ruining an album rollout hurts not only the artist but also everyone who worked behind the scenes. Producers, engineers, writers, and collaborators often spend countless hours building a project together. When an album leaks prematurely, that entire creative plan can collapse overnight. The emotional track fans had been talking about continued spreading as well. More listeners claimed they had heard it, and some said the song sounded like Drake was reflecting on trust, fame, and the loneliness that can come with success. Those interpretations only made the situation feel heavier. A few fans even started posting messages telling others not to share that particular track any further out of respect. But as with most leaks, once curiosity spreads across the internet, controlling the conversation becomes nearly impossible. Then another twist appeared that made the story even more chaotic. Several users online began claiming the hackers had updated the leaked folder with additional files. Some people said they saw alternate mixes of songs that had already leaked. Others insisted there were new snippets that hadn't been there before. Whether those claims were real or simply rumors fueled by the chaos was unclear, but the speculation kept growing. At the same time, Drake's team was reportedly moving quickly behind the scenes. Entertainment blogs began saying lawyers might already be involved in tracking the source of the breach. Cybersecurity experts sometimes get brought into cases like this to analyze how hackers might have gained access to private studio data. If the leak truly came from a hacked cloud account or stolen hard drive, investigators could eventually trace the digital trail. But that process can take time. And while the investigation unfolds, the music continues to circulate. For fans watching the situation develop in real time, the entire story felt like one of the biggest leak scandals hip-hop has seen in years. An artist at the top of the industry suddenly dealing with a massive breach, unfinished songs appearing everywhere online, and rumors about even more files still waiting to surface. Yet one question continued to hang over the entire situation. If Drake had planned to release this album on his own terms, how would this leak change everything? Would the project be delayed, completely rebuilt, or perhaps released earlier than expected to take control of the narrative again? Right now, nobody outside Drake's inner circle knows the answer. But one thing is certain, the fallout from this leak is far from over. And that's why this situation has the entire hip-hop world watching right now. What started as a few mysterious files appearing online suddenly turned into one of the most chaotic leak stories fans have seen in years. Unreleased songs, private studio recordings, alternate versions of tracks, and even rumors about deeply personal lyrics, all spreading across the internet faster than anyone could control. Fans were shocked, emotions ran high, and the industry itself started asking the same question. How did someone get access to that much music? If the reports are even partially true, this wasn't just a small demo slipping out. This looked like an entire album rollout being flipped upside down overnight. Months, maybe years, of creative work suddenly exposed before Drake ever had the chance to present the music the way he planned. And then there's that one mysterious track fans keep talking about, the song people say sounded more personal than anything else in the leak. If that record was never meant to reach the public, hearing it circulate online could make the situation even more frustrating for the artist. But the biggest question still hasn't been answered. Was this really the result of hackers breaking into private studio files? Or could someone inside the circle have leaked the music? Right now nobody outside Drake's team truly knows. And depending on how Drake responds, this whole situation could go in several directions. The album might get delayed. It might get rebuilt with new songs. Or he might decide to drop the project early and completely change the narrative. Now I want to hear your opinion. Do you think this was really a hacker attack? Or do you think someone close to the studio sessions might have leaked the music? And if the album really did get exposed online like this, should Drake still release it the way it was originally planned? Drop your thoughts in the comments below because this debate is definitely going to get heated. And if you enjoy these deep rap stories, hip-hop drama breakdowns, and viral industry news, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next story. Because trust me, the next one might be even crazier.